Welcome to The PA is In, the show created by PAs for PAs, where codependency with your supervising physician is a thing of the past, optimal team practice is the future, and physician associate has taken the place of physician assistant as the professional title of choice. I'm Tracy Bingaman, and I'm obsessed with redefining what success as a PA looks like and what it feels like. Here you'll find the mindset shifts, systems, and processes I use to escape healthcare burnout and integrate my work into my life. Work-life balance is a myth, and an integrated life where you thrive professionally, not a balancing act, is the goal here. My mission is to help you to grow into a unicorn PA who loves their job, has abundant energy, time to spare, and work-optional financial freedom. The PA is in. Welcome back to another episode of The PA is In. Today's guest is going to tell us how to save for college, specifically how to set a budget, how to figure out where a good place for our kids value-wise is, and also how to juggle our own student loan payoff with saving for our kids' college. Ann Garcia has helped thousands of families to save millions of dollars on college. She is a fee-only fiduciary financial advisor and a go-to expert on paying for college. She is the author of the critically acclaimed How to Pay for College book and a sought-after media guest. She's been quoted in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, U.S. News and World Report, just to name a few. She's also a parent whose twins just graduated debt-free from college. And Ann is just so enthusiastic, and she's going to share so much about practical tips on how we can make it so that our kids don't end up with big, hairy student loans that prevent them from starting their lives in a good, solid financial place. Without further ado, here she is, Ann Garcia. Ann, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I've been really looking forward to this discussion. I have been reading your book, and I think that this topic of how to pay for college and how to reframe this in our minds is so important. So could you introduce yourself to our listeners? Tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a financial planner, and a lot of the planning that I do is helping families to pay for college. I realized kind of early in my career, I was talking a lot with two different groups of people. One were parents who couldn't figure out how to fit college savings and the cost of college into their family budget. And the other were young adults who had finished college with so much student loan debt that they were really struggling with the basic building blocks of their adult financial lives, whether it was saving for retirement, buying a house, sometimes even just having a savings account felt out of reach for them because they were in so far over their heads with student loan debt. And I kind of realized if I could help that first group, those parents who were trying to figure this out, that maybe I would see a lot less of that second group. And I'm a parent myself. I have two kids who just graduated from college. So, this was something that was near and dear to me, both personally and professionally.
Yeah. And the primary audience of this show is people working in healthcare, and the opportunity cost of time, and also the dollars invested to become a licensed clinician, all of those things are super expensive. So the people listening are nodding along as you're saying, this big student loan debt burden and feeling like I worked so hard to get where I am, and now I'm in a hole as I'm starting my career. I feel like I can't, get ahead from a student loan standpoint. So I'd like to sort of zoom out a little bit and talk about why the cost of college is so expensive. So one of the things when I was reading your book that I have circled and underlined and highlighted is this 500% increase in public school tuition from the years of 1986 to 2016. And this had my jaw on the floor. If the cost of bananas went up 500%, we would just find another fruit to eat. But for some reason with college, we're still going, we're still paying. So why is college so expensive?
Well, I think there's so many reasons that we could point to. We could point to macro level reasons, like with public colleges, declining funding from states where we have so many states with property tax caps and income tax caps and whatnot. That has impacted higher education funding. It's the one service that a state offers that has an alternate way of paying for it aka charging the people who are taking advantage of it. And then you have more people going to college, which results in the need to build additional facilities, hire additional faculty. All of those add to costs. On the cost side at the college level, there's been a huge increase in administrative staff. So this isn't like adding more professors who are teaching more classes. It's adding counselors because the cost of college is so high that we're all really concerned about getting out in 4 years versus, taking the more leisurely path through college that was far more common, 20, 30 years ago than it is now. But honestly, I think the biggest reason that college costs so much is people are willing to pay it. If no one was willing to pay $85,000 a year, then college wouldn't cost $85,000 a year. But, we have this really tough behavioral intersection of, parents who feel like it is so important to do right by their kids, to do the best that they can for their kids, and are willing to fork over the dollars. Stanford raised tuition 7% last year. They turned away probably 20,000 people who were willing to pay that tuition. So I don't see that necessarily changing. Now, that is all. I've just been talking about the list price of college. There are two different prices of college. There's the list price, and then there's the net price. The net price is what we actually pay. And here's the good news. The net price of college has not changed since the financial crisis of 2008, 2009. So we are paying about the same amount for college, or you can pay the same amount for college now that you would have paid 15 years ago. And that's in large part because families have gotten more savvy about cost benefit trade-offs. Paying more for college doesn't guarantee you a better outcome. And there are loads and loads of bargains out there. Of course, the vast majority of people do not have $85,000 times 4 years times the number of children that they have to pay for college.
That's me.
And so, me too. and so most, every college offers some form of tuition discount, and the majority of students are receiving some form of tuition discount for college.
Yeah. I would love it if you could dive into sort of unpacking a little bit. How do you determine the budget for college? So say you say, I have a kid, they're going to do something, they need this college training. I think we get excited about these name brand schools, these places that are recognizable on a national level, and we think they're going to give our kids this huge leg up. How do we let that go and really focus on our kid, what they need culturally, what they're going to study, and also figure out a place that we can afford for them to go?
Yeah. Well, and I can answer that from two perspectives. One is as a parent and the other is as a financial planner. And I will say, as a parent, what I observed from my kids going through college, and I have twins who just graduated and are very, very different students and people, and went to two very, very different colleges and have practically identical jobs now after going to college. So one went to a single-digit acceptance rate private school, and the other went to a public school where you pretty much just sign up and you can go. The most important thing in choosing a college is not what name is going to be on your diploma, but what kind of relationships are you going to build as a student? In fact, there was a big research study done a few years ago, the Purdue Gallup index, that was it was a survey of adults asking them, trying to tie back successful adulthood to college experiences and figure out what it was about college that made these people successful. And what they found was that success had no correlation to what college they attended, what type of college they attended, what location of college they attended, and everything to do with the types of experiences that they had as a student. And that was things like finding mentors among faculty and staff. It was participating, working on a project that took a semester or longer to complete. It was having opportunities to apply classroom learning outside the classroom. It was feeling like people cared about them. It was making friends, participating in extracurriculars. And good news, that's available everywhere. So with that as the preface, then your question is how do you come up with a budget for college? Here's the good news. You could go to college for any price. We hear a lot about very high prices. My son has a friend who just got her degree for $0. So she did 2 years of free community college, and then she was working at Starbucks, and Starbucks had a tuition partnership program with Arizona State, and she could finish her 4-year degree online at Arizona State for $0. So, and there's everything in between. So, and not only that, but there are 4,000 plus different colleges out there. So there's bound to be more than one that will do right by your kid. What I think as far as a budget, so there's two pieces to it. One is, how do I come up with a budget? And the other is, am I okay with the budget that I've just come up with? Now, most families pay for college through a combination of savings, paying out of pocket, and student loans. So, when you look at your family budget, are you saving for college? And if college is important to you, I would argue that you should be saving for college. Throw the nonsense out the window of save for retirement, not college, because there's loans for college, not for retirement. I mean, that's why we have over $1 trillion in outstanding student loan debt. If something's important for you, have some savings. Savings not only helps you financially, but kids whose families have saved for college in literally any amount, $500 of savings or up, not only enroll in college at higher rates, but they graduate at higher rates. So you are doing your child a favor by saving for college. I think a great exercise is, don't wait until senior year and look at, open up the 529 statement and say, oh, how are we going to do this? A good thing to do is when your kids are in middle school or in the early years of high school, look at what you're doing savings wise, look at what you can afford to pay out of pocket and project those out to when they graduate from college and say, what does this mean as far as a college budget? For us, is that a 4-year residential college experience? Is it a 2-year residential college experience? Is it Anna's experience of 4 free years of college? Something in between. If you don't like the pathways that's leading you to, you have a couple of options. One is figure out if you can do more. The other is, and that may be you doing more. It may be things like your 529, if you have a 529 college savings account, those have a gifting page, and you can share that link with friends and families around birthdays and holidays and gift giving occasions, and just say, we kind of have all the toys that we need. What we would really love is for you to help support our child's college goals. But, look at your budget. Is there some more money that you can carve out of your budget to be building up your savings as you go into, as you head into, in the years that you have remaining? It's a lot easier to make those adjustments when you've got 5 or 6 years than when you've got 5 or 6 months. And be realistic with your kid about the pathways that you are creating for them. If your budget is in-state college with student loans, it's good to frame that for them, and not from the perspective of you can only go in-state and you're going to have to take out student loans, but our goal is that you can graduate from college with a minimum of student loans, ideally the federal direct student loan. And we know that we can get you through that at our state schools. You can probably find other alternatives out there, and we will support you in looking for those. I think, rules of thumb as far as building up your budget, creating your savings, because, not obviously most of us who have families have multiple draws on every dollar. So kind of my rule of thumb is you should have emergency savings, you should have retirement savings, and you should have college savings, and they should be in approximately that, that's kind of the priority order. So if you don't have emergency savings and retirement savings, you shouldn't be saving for college, assuming you have both of those. So if you're saving for retirement, but not maxing out, so not maxing out your 401k at $22,500 a year, not maxing out your IRA at $7,500 a year, then only 10% of what you're saving for retirement should go into college. If you want to save more for college, then increase your retirement savings rate too. Bring those both up hand in hand. But that's a pretty appropriate balance to have. If you get to the point where you're maxing out retirement, maybe look at what's the maximum deductible amount that your state offers for 529 plan contributions, and maybe try to target that. But by building up your savings, you're creating additional choices for your child. And by using your budget, which is that combination of here's my savings balance, here's what I can pay out of pocket, here's what I'm okay with for student loans, by using that budget to guide your college choices, you'll find, you vastly increase the likelihood that you make a good investment in college.
Finding the perfect gift for everyone on your list, well, it can be quite a challenge. And when you're a busy professional trying to choose thoughtful, high-quality, personalized gifts, you know that all too well. Thankfully, there's KML Expressions, a PA mom-owned business that can personalize almost anything. From ornaments to occupation-specific items for PAs and more, Crystal has got you covered. Don't even get me started on how cute her stuff is. Even the hardest people to buy for, there's a gift for them at KML. Head to the link in the show notes to place your order today. I really enjoyed the part of the book that talks about how to talk about this with kids at each age. I think this is something that we sort of keep behind the curtain as parents. We'll be saving diligently every month, or, wishing we were saving more and fretting about this, but we're not talking to our kids about it. Even I was opening up a statement from one of our kids' 529s last month, and my 6-year-old said, "Mom, what's that?" And I said, "Oh, this is actually your college fund. This is money that we've been saving for you for college," which of course then prompted this discussion of like, can I buy a Tesla Cybertruck with this money that you have been, because he's 6, right? So he's like, there's my money, right? What can I do with my money? But it was still a good opportunity to say, hey, this is, we're saving. We didn't go into details of numbers or anything, but I said, we're saving for you so that when you get to the college age, you'll have money to be able to do that with. And he has older brothers who are in college. So it was very sort of, he could understand this is what college is, Zachary's in college. So that was an interesting discussion. I have heard other, teachers who have just said, hey, we're going to start brainwashing our kids at a young age. We're saving for college. We're saving for college. You're going to college. And you offered me this very new perspective about how we're asking the wrong question. So historically, we've been asking our kids, where do you want to go to college, or which college do you want to go to? And we really should ask, why college, and take a good look at that return on investment and if it's worthwhile to invest in college. Could you unpack that a little and talk about this question, why college, as opposed to which college?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that resonated with you. Like you said, we focus on which college our kids are going to go to. We focus on the Instagram picture the Instagram post we're going to make of their college acceptance and buying them that sweatshirt and whatnot. As I was saying before, there's plenty of data out there that shows that which college you go to is far less important than the fact that you went to college. The benefits of a college degree are tremendous. A college graduate earns on average $1 million more over their lifetime than does someone without a degree. The unemployment rate for college graduates is typically half what it is for those without degrees. But the benefits are far more than just financial. There's plenty of data out there showing that college graduates live longer and healthier lives. There's less type 2 diabetes, less heart disease among people with degrees. People with degrees are more likely to marry and less likely to divorce than people without degrees. So these are all normal things to want for your kid. Funny thing, at my son's graduation, I had a wonderful, wonderful speaker who he said, going to college doesn't make you a better person. It makes you better equipped to be a person in the world, or something like that. And shortly after that, I saw this survey that was on all these sort of these very qualitative factors associated with college degrees, and on all these qualitative factors. College graduates scored higher. So it was things like college graduates are more likely to vote. They're more likely to help their neighbors. They're more likely to volunteer. So I was like, well, maybe it sounds like maybe going to college does make you a better person.
Yeah, I mean, based on that, yeah, it does.
Right. And so, so a couple things about that. One is all of those benefits are benefits that accrue to college graduates, not to graduates of some elite subset of colleges. So you can have all that without, without a price tag that doesn't work for your family. There's another important consideration, which is that there is one group of people who do not see those benefits, and that is people who take out excess student loan debt to go to go to college. And so when you manage, I don't want to say curtail, I want to say manage or guide your child's college choices to ones that are good financial fits in addition to being good academic and social fits, you are doing far more to shape your child's future than by trying to get them into a college that isn't affordable for your family because you like the name that might be on the diploma. So think of the 25-year-old, the 30-year-old, the 35-year-old that you're trying to create, rather than what you want to post on Instagram on May 1st about which college they chose.
Yeah. Yeah. I have seen that sort of increase in branding, or, high schools that are having these college sign days, and kids are, sitting at a table that looks like, they're a professional athlete signing for, their commitment letter. And I have seen that in the last maybe like 3 to 5 years and thought, oh, thank goodness that wasn't happening when I was choosing, because I already felt stressed out enough about my choice that I wasn't going to, and it wasn't in any way going to be broadcast in any sort of, from my school or by my parents or anything. It was going to be something that they told good friends over dinner, not the whole world in this public post about where I was going. I think there can be a lot tied to that and a lot of pressure around choice and what, connotation certain schools have when people are making that choice.
Well, and you bring up a really good point, which is that a lot of this pressure is coming not from the kids themselves, but from their school, from their college and career center, from parents, from other sources who feel like there is one true path to a wonderful adulthood, and that is by going to these very, very selective schools. And look at it from the college and career center of a private high school. They want to be able to say, we put all these kids into Ivy League schools. Ivy League schools they're wonderful. They're not great fits for everyone. I mean, I look at my son, and he was an okay student through high school. Went to a big public school and became an academic superstar. And that wouldn't have happened to him at a small private school. He failed calculus in high school and tutored statistics in college. My daughter, on the other hand, was a great fit for a small private school, and she really thrived there. But she chose the small private school that gave her the biggest scholarship package.
Yeah, I think that the older I get, the more I realize that there is rarely one true path to anything, right? So no two people are alike, no two, sets of values or goals are alike. And even within a family, if you say, our family values these specific things, you could have different kids who do or don't align with the things that you value as parents or even as a family, because they're all going to be unique individuals who are going to thrive in different situations.
Yeah. And you mentioned values. That's a great stepping off point for some conversations about money. As awkward as it is to talk about money, bringing it up more often makes it a little bit less awkward. And, having conversations like, we spend money on a family vacation every year because we value this time that we spend together, is a great way to talk about money. We use our money to do things that are important for us.
Yeah. Yeah. My same 6-year-old who was asking if he could spend his college fund on a Tesla also the other day said, I have friends that buy lunch at school 5 days a week, and I'm only allowed to buy lunch 2 days a week. And I said, yep, our budget supports you buying hot lunch 2 days a week, and the other 3 days a week you have to pack. And he said, don't we have enough though that I could buy lunch 5 days a week? And I said, sure, if you want to buy lunch 5 days a week, you would have to give up karate. And we're driving to karate, and he loves karate, and it is his extracurricular activity he does all year round, which has a hefty price tag associated with it. And I said, if we stop paying for karate, you could get lunch every day. And he said, nope, I'll pack and I will continue to do karate, because I said, this is what matters to us, right? So if we want to do this thing, we can't do that thing. And that's because we value travel and, activities and some of these other things.
Yeah. And I think, it's a no risk, very limited awkwardness way of talking about money. And whenever it presents itself.
Yes. Yeah. Whenever they ask in the car, that's almost always when my kids ask questions like that in the car. You're driving somewhere and they say, hey.
Yeah. I do it too many times. And they're like, let's have a carpool, Mom, so you can't ask me these questions.
Right. So there's too many people for you to ask me uncomfortable things. So I would love to talk about specific strategies for saving. How can we make sure we're saving enough? How do we check in with what we have saved? And how can we incrementally save more over time if what we're saving now is not going to get us to the place where we want to be budget-wise?
Yeah. Great question. So again, the more you save, the more choices your child is going to have. That being said, it is not a requirement that you make every choice available to your child. Personally, I think 529s are the best way to save for college. A 529, for those who are unfamiliar with it, is a dedicated college savings account. They're typically run by the states. And most states that have state income tax offer some kind of tax deduction or tax credit for your contributions. There's a couple things that are great about 529s. One is they're just really, really easy. You go online, set up the account, link it to your bank account, and you can set up an automatic monthly contribution of even just a very small amount. Another thing that's great about 529s is the growth in the account is tax-free, and then the withdrawals are tax-free as long as they're used for what's called qualified higher education expenses, which is tuition fees, room and board, books. Basically, the full cost of college can be paid from a 529. So that tax-free growth and distribution means your money is worth a lot more, because you keep all of it instead of paying taxes with some of it. A couple of other things that are great about 529s. One is almost all of them have a tool called a gifting page. And so, if you're like most families, you don't have a whole lot of extra dollars to go around, but maybe you have, grandparents, aunts, uncles, who are generous with your family. That gifting page can be a way to increase your savings rate by, sharing it with other people and just saying, hey, instead of toys for birthdays, we'd love to have you contribute to our kids' college savings accounts. And so when you're in those, years of being in triage mode, it can be a way to really boost really boost your savings. 529s are also great for financial aid. The reason for that is with the changes in the FAFSA this year, say you're a family like yours, Tracy, with 5 kids, and each of them has a 529. On the FAFSA, you only report the student's 529 balance. You don't report all the siblings' 529s. So let's say you had $20,000 in a 529 for each of your children. That's not $100,000 of assets on the FAFSA. That's $20,000 of assets, and the rest of it is excluded from the financial aid calculation. So, really big benefit for financial aid purposes. for financial aid purposes there. There are other ways to save for college. Unfortunately, one of the most common ways is using a savings account. The problem with a savings account is, other than right now where savings accounts actually pay some interest, for the most part, if you just put money in a savings account, it's not going to keep up with college tuition in inflation. If you invested in a 529 and start when your child is young, that money is going to compound and grow over time and be worth quite a bit more than your original contribution. So your money is going to be doing a big part of the heavy lifting to build your savings. I always think with something like a 529, where you set it, you kind of set it and forget it. It's a great idea to periodically look at what you're doing and say, could I do a little bit more? And, a great way to do that is every year on your child's birthday, think back what a great year we had, so much growth and progress, and then think ahead about the person that you want them to become, and maybe look at your budget and see, is there another $10, $20 a month that could go towards college? If you increased your savings by $10 a month every year on your child's birthday, you'd have about $15,000 more dollars available for college when they graduated from high school. So little small actions can lead to big improvements in outcomes. But this is also why I think it's important to be looking at your savings rate on an ongoing basis, not just when you get to senior year, and say, is what I'm doing creating the outcome that I want? I mean, my husband and I joke that he went to Michigan, I went to Berkeley, and now we live in Oregon. So, and we're huge fans of our schools, and we bought our kids all the gear. And then when they were like 8 years old, we looked up what it would cost to send them to either of those schools, since we're out of state for both of them, and we stopped buying all that gear.
Yeah, stop planting the seed that's where they'll go. Yeah.
Right.
You might not know this about me, but one of my most despised tasks as a clinician is charting. That's why I'm always searching for hacks, tools, and tactics to make charting more accurate, efficient, and less of a huge pain in the butt. If you too want to spend more time connecting with your patients and less time pointing, clicking, and typing into their chart, you should definitely check out Freed AI. Freed AI is a medical scribe on a mission to free clinicians everywhere from the purgatory that is writing notes. Freed AI listens, transcribes, and writes your medical documentation for you. You can even use the code PA50 for $50 off your first month with Freed AI. These notes are written in your style and done for you by the end of the visit. Can you imagine what it would feel like to leave work on time, notes done, without having to crack your laptop open in the evening? Freed is HIPAA compliant, completely secure, and it takes less than 30 seconds to learn. Get back to what you love doing, treating your patients, and let Freed AI do the rest. So a lot of the people listening are juggling their own student loans. So they went to school, a long time, worked hard to become the clinicians that they are. And now they're sort of juggling, how do I prioritize in this list of emergency, retirement, college? Where does paying down my student loans fit?
Student loans. Yeah. It's a great question. And I would say there isn't one answer that works for everyone. But I would say, as a healthcare worker, look at what loan forgiveness programs you're eligible for. Are you working in public sector or nonprofit where you're eligible for public sector loan forgiveness? And if so, get yourself into an income-based repayment plan so that you can minimize the burden that those loans are creating. Look at all those programs that are out there that'll pay down a chunk of your loans in exchange for, working in different, in different areas, to the extent that you have any level of flexibility. That way, if you do have an overwhelming loan burden and are working in the private sector, that could be the kind of thing where it makes sense to look at transitioning to public sector to become eligible for forgiveness. Those programs have become so much better, and people are actually getting getting loan balances forgiven. So do take advantage of all the forgiveness programs that you're eligible for. Take advantage of income-based repayment, especially the new Save repayment plan where the interest doesn't accrue, the unpaid interest doesn't accrue. Because I know that's always been one of the biggest drawbacks of income-based repayment plans is watching your loan balances grow and grow and grow. And so there is now an escape hatch for that, which is the new Save repayment plan. So I think the first thing to do is try to manage your own student loan debt. If you're in an income-based plan, make sure that you're doing pre-tax retirement contributions, because that'll bring down your monthly payment, which can hopefully free up some money to help start your kids out. And again, leverage other people in your life who might be generous with your kids to supplement your savings rate, whether it's that gifting page, and whether it's that you just make contributions periodically when you're able to. But do make sure with student loans that you're not paying more on them than you need to.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So there was one story from the book, which I would love to wrap up with before we tell everyone where they can go to find you on the internet. You talk about if you're trading in your car and you walk on the car lot and you see a Lamborghini that is way outside of your budget, you're not just going to buy it simply because you like the color. Can you tell us that story and how it applies to college choice and just staying within the bounds of this beautiful reminder that we do not have to give them every choice. Simply because we want them to have choices doesn't mean that every potential college is going to be the right choice.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it's just sort of thinking about the absurdity of families saying, yes, let's pay. Let's send all three of our kids to $85,000 a year colleges, even though we have no savings at all. I compared that to it's time to trade in the family minivan, and you go to the car dealership and there's a yellow car over in the corner, and yellow is your favorite color. So, you go check it out and it's a Lamborghini, and yeah, it's $250,000, but there's car loans for that. And somehow we all know that is absurd. But when it comes to college, we think it's reasonable. And really, it's no more reasonable to do that for college than it would be to do that for your car.
Yeah, it's such a good reminder to just rein in that excitement and those things that you think, oh, it's just such a great opportunity. It's going to give them such a leg up. But really, when you were talking about the name on the diploma doesn't matter, it made me think one time I heard someone say, the only name that matters on your diploma is yours, in that what you got out of that experience and what you learned and the person you are because of going somewhere is what matters. It doesn't matter the name of the place that you went. It matters your name and the skills that you acquired during that experience.
I love that saying. That's perfect. And here's the other thing. When you work in healthcare, that is a career path that your kids have seen, and it's probably something that's part of their future, something that they're interested in pursuing, which means a graduate degree. And the best way to end up with a big student loan with the big student loan balances to take out student loans for your undergraduate years and then put them in and then defer them during your graduate school year where interest piles up on those unpaid loans month after month after month. And for a student who's on that pathway, probably the most important thing you can do is help them get out of undergraduate without student loans.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I think if you have a kid who's talking about, graduate degrees or medical school or, something beyond the standard undergraduate education, to be very frank with them about this is the capacity we have to help you. We're going to help you get through undergrad, but our capacity to help you with graduate school is X, Y, or Z, right? So that they know, it's not a surprise, that they don't think, well, graduate school is college, so you're going to pay for that too, right? But having a really clear discussion on, here's what we've got when the money runs out. Our help is, exhausted at that point, or this is, what we have saved plus cash flow. One of our kids, who is who chose a school that had a little bit of a higher ticket price, we said, hey, we looked at the budget between what we have saved and what we can cash flow. We can swing that. However, 10% of this is your responsibility. So 10% of our responsibility is your responsibility. And, we said, these are when your payments are due because these are when the tuition payments are due. And I think that's good for your kids to have skin in the game and a really real understanding of how much is going into funding this education.
Absolutely. It's perfectly reasonable to expect kids to have skin in the game. And frankly, if they're not willing to step up to the plate for that, it probably isn't important enough for you to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, when we had that conversation with that particular kid, we said, here's what it's going to cost you. We're going to have it do, over the summer, you have an opportunity to earn more. And he said, this feels like a lot. He said, this feels like a lot of money for me to earn. And I was like, well, it's 1/10 of what it feels like a lot to us too. I want you to feel it. I want it to feel like a lot, right? I want you to feel this experience as a true investment in your future, and that it's not us are the only ones investing in your future, but you also are doing that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And, college is too expensive to just say anything you choose. We got that for you. And there are loads and loads of ways for kids to contribute to their college, whether it's part-time jobs, summer internships, being an RA, working at Starbucks and getting free college.
And that particular kid is an RA. And when he got that RA position, he came to us and said, does this adjust my financial responsibility? He said, this is the discount I'm getting. And we looked at and we said, yes, okay, here's what your new, payment. And because he said, I'm working, I'm putting in time and effort for this discount. And we said, we see that. Okay. We're going to take that into account in what you owe for the coming years as if you continue to be an RA. It's such a good example of we can be creative about this, but in the end, we still need to end up with the result that we're looking for.
Yeah. And, there are outside scholarships, all kinds of other ways for kids to contribute to their college.
Yeah. Yeah. So if people are hungry for more and they're thinking, oh no, I'm behind, or I haven't had these conversations with my kids, or I don't know how to make this budget, where can they go to connect with you, to find your book, and to learn more about how to pay for college?
Yeah, my book is How to Pay for College. It's available from Amazon, Barnes and Noble, booksellers everywhere. There it is.
There it is. I have it all marked up. My copy is highlighted, all the things.
Excellent. And one of the things about the book is I read so many books where I'm like, this is great. I need to do this. This is so helpful. And then I set it aside and pick up the next book and go on to the next thing. So every chapter of the book has a worksheet that sort of is your sit down and actually do it. Because I don't think, with college, the timeline is too short to just, set it aside and come back to it a year, 2 years, 3 years, 3 years later. And then my website is howtopayforcollege.com. And a lot of resources on there, a bunch of free resources, blog posts and whatnot about planning for college, financial aid, scholarships, and whatnot. And then I also have my my online course called the College Financial Plan, which is at howtopayforcollege.com, and that's designed for families of high school students who are really in those last phases of planning for college. So it's how to pick colleges, how to research what types of scholarships are offered, how to figure out if you're eligible for financial aid, how to file the FAFSA, how to appeal your financial aid award. So basically, how to pay for college is how to find me.
Awesome. Well, Anne, thank you so much for sharing your time and wisdom with us. I know this is going to be such value to our listeners. So thanks for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me.
If you've been listening to the show for any number of episodes, weeks, or months, you know that I love when these conversations exist at the intersection of what we value and our money, and figuring out how to use our money for the best choices for our family. So setting a budget and saving aggressively, doing what you can, and balancing your own student loan payoff with saving for your kids' college. Thank you, as always, for tuning in to another episode of The PA is in. If this episode was helpful to you, could you do me a favor? Send it to a friend or colleagues whose kids are ready to go to college, or someone who just had a baby who needs a reminder to set up that 529. Head to iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating and a written review. Those reviews are life-giving to a show like this, and it helps listeners like you to find us. That's all for today. This PA is out. Congratulations, you've just joined an awesome club. By listening to a full episode of The PA is in, you are officially on the Unicorn PA team. Welcome aboard. What most team members do is they subscribe to the podcast because that allows them to automatically get the latest episode of the show. The life of your dreams exists on the other side of taking action. Keep making small shifts and keep getting better. Your life will improve, your career will soar, and you will have the confidence you need to create your own success. I will see you in the next episode. This PA is out.